Hi, my name is Tamara Paul, and I am one of the founders of Ruth, a nonprofit organization named after my late grandma, who inspired this group through her lifestyle and the lessons that she taught me throughout my life. Over the past couple years, my friends and I have been observing and discussing the horrors that have been occurring throughout our country, such as the drug epidemic, income inequality, hate and violence, the mental health of our youth, and an increasing division between the varied groups of our nation. According to the New York Times, violent crimes increased nationally in 2016 by 4.1%, and homicides rose by 8.6%, just 1 year after violence increased by 3.9% and homicides jumped by 10.8%. According to the CDC, the suicide rate for girls ages 15 and 19 doubled from 2007 to 2015, when it reached its highest point in 40 years. The suicide rate for boys the same ages increased 30% over the same time period. Poverty is the single greatest threat to children, and according to the National Center for Children in Poverty, about 15 million children in the U.S., 21% of all children, live in families with incomes below the federal poverty threshold, a measurement that has been shown to underestimate the true needs of families. Research shows that on average, families need an income of about twice that level to cover basic expenses. Using this standard, 43% of our nation's children live in low-income families. These stats are alarming enough, but we have also been witnessing some growing trends among our youth that cannot be measured numerically, such as growing lack of compassion, work ethic, common sense, communication skills, and higher level thinking. Even just in the past couple weeks, our government shut down, the youth are eating Tide Pods and bullying each other to death, and another school shooting occurred. Something has to change. Normally, this is where most people start pointing fingers at whichever group of people they don't like, assigning blame rather than take responsibility for the problems that are occurring. But that does nothing to repair the damage or prevent further damage. It just creates more hard feelings, anger, and separation of our people. The last things that we need to happen right now. However, we do need to examine the why behind the problems in our country in order to find a solution. For the majority of my life, I have been listening and observing to all ages of kids and adults from all walks of life. The biggest cause to the cycle of self-destruction that we are witnessing in our country is that of trauma and pain. It was a concept that I was first introduced to while studying to be a teacher 15 years ago. But it didn't really become real until I was a teacher. We all experience some kind of trauma or abuse in our lives, but how we react to it and who we have to guide us through it makes all the difference in the world. Many turn to alcohol, drugs, violence, promiscuous sexual behavior, and even greed to try to ease their pain, which in turn really only ends up causing more trauma and pain to others, thus creating the vicious, evil, never-ending snowball effect we are witnessing across our country. So in response, we are forming Ruthannas to educate, empower, and unite our impoverished youth in order to enhance the financial, social, and environmental future of our country. If we are going to fix the future of our great nation, then we need to start with our youth so that we can somewhat prevent and interrupt that vicious cycle of trauma. Although there are many groups out there that treat the symptoms of our troubled nation, there is very little being done to get to the root of our problems, even though there are so many who are screaming for help. Our nonprofit wants to get to the root of these problems by providing education and support to the youth of all ages and their families. Just a few of the topics we address in our group are financial, teaching budgeting skills, smart shopping, building credit scores, needs versus want, managing a checking savings account, basic life skills, changing a tire, checking the fluids in your vehicle, changing oil, gardening, sewing, basic home repair and maintenance, goal setting and time management, personal health, reducing anxiety and depression through natural methods such as exercise, healthy diet, meditation, and immersing yourself in nature for a little bit. Even sunshine does wonders for anxiety and depression. Also, basic communication and social skills. How can we do anything in the future of our country if we're not able to communicate with one another and somewhat get along? I'm sure many of you are thinking that these are things that need to be taught in schools or at home. And 20 plus years ago, that was the case. But in our changing world, with the increasing demands placed on schools and parents by our government and economy, time is scarce. And many of these basic necessary skills are left out. Then we have many young adults pushed into the brutal real world that we live in with no idea of how to survive, but then having their own children. Or you're thinking that no one has ever done anything but hurt you and screw you over, so why should you help anyone? I also understand that better than most of you know. Beginning in my childhood and at various times throughout my life, even up until the end of last year, I've been abused, beaten, assaulted, raped, manipulated, used, deceived, robbed. Even last year, those who supposedly love me and promised to be there for me no matter what made horrible false accusations towards me because I wouldn't do what they told me to do, because I told them no. But my attackers over the last 35 years did what they did due to their own trauma and pain. And forgiveness is powerful. So rather than continue to hate and be angry and let that build up every time that I was hurt, I chose to forgive. Repeatedly to forgive. And that cycle of pain and trauma, then it ended. And I was able to continue on a different path of loving and helping others. And that's all I'm asking you to do. It's not instant, it's not easy, but it's possible to forgive and let go of that anger. This is just a basic overview of our group and goals. There's so much more that we have planned that we will continue to share on our videos and articles. But right now we are in our infancy stage of developing our group, and we are ready to submit our articles of incorporation to our lawyers to be checked over and finalized before we apply to the state and federal government. Once we are legally recognized by them, we can apply for the millions of grant money that is just waiting to be used to help the youth of our country. If all goes according to plan, we will buy a physical location this year, a home-type setting where we can bring large groups of youth to learn, interact, grow, and heal. But we need your help. For most of my adult life, I have been doing many of these things already, and I've witnessed the start of a new snowball effect, one of kindness, compassion, empathy, responsibility, and respect. Those who I have talked out of suicide have gone on to graduate college and now are in jobs where they in turn help others. Teens who I mentored, advised, and even hugged when they were experiencing abuse at home from their parents have grown up and have now become responsible adults and loving parents. If I, with all my faults and flaws, can do what I have done so far, then can you imagine what we can do if we join together? In the past few years, as I started to share my ideas and goals, we have grown, and I am no longer just one, but it's time to grow some more. It's time we stop letting our government and media separate us, and we come back together as the great nation I once believed in. So please help us. Like, follow, and share our Facebook page in this video. We need to get the word out. We also need your input and more passionate people who want to be involved and make a difference. So please message me if you are interested. Lastly, we do need donations to make it all happen and to get us off to a running start for 2018. So, well, my 39th birthday was yesterday. So please consider just a gift of $5 to Ruth Anna's. that will help us to get our group going so that we can help more youth, so that we can reach larger numbers, so that we can grow and make a bigger impact for our future. I thank you for all that you can do for us.